Scarlet Witch is a versatile duelist hero in Marvel Rivals, and she's a classic case of easy to pick up and play, but difficult to master if you want to be doing insane damage numbers. She's also that type of character that does really well against lower skilled players usually, but is still good against higher skilled players when used correctly. In this guide, I'm going to show you how you can play her effectively, and most importantly, I'm going to show you how you can have lots of fun with her. I'll also tell you all the secrets to beating her. They're not that complicated, and after that, if you're still interested, you can check out my other Marvel Rivals videos as well. As usual, let's talk about playstyle first. So Wanda, or Scarlet Witch, excels at sustained damage and completely changing the face of a match if she can use her ultimate properly, which of course we'll get to. She can play well on the ground in the middle of things, but can become extra deadly when used in the air because you can catch other teams sleeping or individuals out of position. Naturally, this will depend on team composition and your current situation though, just like with any other hero. But in general, she's able to push opponents back thanks to those damage sustaining attacks, so even if you're not getting those final hits or glory style eliminations, you're still going to be racking up a lot of damage and being extremely useful to your team. Really, Wanda can put up crazy consistent damage. She can also protect your back line, so if you have heroes like Spider-Man trying to flank or attack from behind to take out your supports, really cripple your team, all you have to do is just turn around and melt those heroes down because you counter their movement abilities with your attacks, which of course we're covering in a second. And she's even great at taking out characters in the air like Iron Man, so if you have a trustworthy team you can really take to the skies and go crazy with it. You can even be a flanking character. I'm not saying that's the go-to playstyle, I'm just saying Scarlet Witch is so versatile. Now you might have heard some people say Wanda needs to be used as an air character and that if you're pro you're always going to be in the air with her, and I think that's a little bit of a limited point of view, at least in my opinion. Yeah, she's fantastic in the air, of course, most characters that can be in the air, if you can just rain down damage, that is fantastic. But because she's so versatile, you don't need to limit yourself just to that. If your opponents are good at taking out air characters, it's totally fine to play her on the ground or in whatever other way you can cook up with. At the end of the day, you can use her to push tanks or vanguards back, you can use her to eliminate supports, you can use her to take out other duelist DPS characters. She can do a little bit of everything on offense. But to be a good Wanda, you need great situational awareness, you need critical thinking skills for target acquisition, and you have to remember to never be gritty. Why did I say gritty? I meant to say greedy. What I'm trying to say here is if you get an elimination, you're not necessarily always going to be going on rampages. Sometimes you have to get an elimination, go back, get another one, go back, that kind of thing. You also greatly benefit from having a healer that knows what they're doing or a vanguard tank, but that's pretty much the case for every hero. Also, it's worth pointing out that Wanda and Magneto as a team go absolutely hard together due to the extra damage and shields, as well as Wanda and Mantis because again, she can buff you up and give you extra health. So all in all, the big takeaway from this is that Wanda is a sustaining damage type of character and she's so versatile. You can play her in many different ways, but your goal is to get those eliminations if you can and to just do massive damage to the enemy team. Now let's switch gears into Scarlet Witch's normal attack, which is called Chaos Control, and it's amazing. You just generally point at a hero and hold down your attack button, and that's kind of it. Wanda will just keep doing sustained damage as long as they're in range, and you don't even really need to be all that accurate or anything like that. The range is a little bit more generous than you might think, which is nice, so really you're constantly going to be holding down your basic attack button. And one of the best things about this attack is how players react to it. I mean, think about it. If all of a sudden you start dropping health rapidly in the middle of a fight, or if you're just chilling somewhere, what do, right? You probably try to back off, you might even panic and kind of flail around, you might try to fight back, but in any case, a lot of players will often just fall back. Chaos Control is a good way to interrupt whatever plan or thoughts your opponent had. And another important thing to know about Chaos Control is that it charges your Chthonian Burst energy attack. Wanda has a powerful projectile called Chthonian Burst. It's pretty big and does area of effect damage, so you want to be using it whenever you can. It can be a great way to keep opponents in check, finish them off, or just send them back for heals. You get 4 charges of them and they each individually reload, but if you're constantly using your normal Chaos Control attack, you're constantly recharging your projectiles quickly. So not only can you melt health bars with your normal attack, but your projectile gives you powerful damage bursts that turn you into a hero that can basically be a part of any team fight. With Wanda, you typically want to be using her normal attack and projectile at all times. Really, I want you to have the mindset of I must sustain damage as much and as long as possible when you're playing as her. Scarlet Witch also has a second projectile called Dark Seal, and she sends out an orb that creates a small bubble which stuns players in it periodically. While it's not the world's most game-changing ability, because players aren't just gonna walk into a big red spoopy bubble, it can come pretty clutch at times and you don't want to sleep on it. You can drop the Dark Seal unexpectedly during team fights to give your team the edge, or you can use it on someone rushing you down if you need to escape, or you can even use it to help a teammate escape. It's just a cool little ability that further highlights the wonderful versatility of Wanda. You don't want to forget about it. It really is easy to forget about it because you're constantly going to be doing your sustained damage attacks. So sometimes it's, you go a few minutes without realizing, wait a minute, I could have been stunning players a little bit here and there, or I could have been controlling space in a tight corridor, that kind of thing. You want to be using it as often as you can. Now let's talk about Scarlet Witch's movement options that basically turn you into a goddess. You can use Mystic Projection to go into an invincible state where your speed is boosted. And while you're in this state, you're basically a floating ghost. So you have free movement. You can go high up in the air. And once you're up in the air, you can cancel out of the state with the same button, or you can wait for it to end and you can start holding down the jump button, which is your Telekinesis. Telekinesis is your temporary floating ability that drastically slows down the speed of your fall. So when you mix your Telekinesis with your Mystic Projection, you turn Wanda, you turn the Scarlet Witch into a flying character that can sustain heavy damage on anyone from above. This movement technique also enables you to chase down characters or to easily target other air characters like Iron Man and wipe the floor with them because, you get up in there, you get on a good angle, maybe to the side of them, behind them, or above them, and you just use your attacks while you gracefully float down, and then you can use your Mystic Projection to get out of the battle if people start targeting you. Just keep in mind that you have 2 Mystic Projection charges and that the total cooldown on them is longer than you might think. So you really want to keep an eye on that, and you generally want to have 1 Mystic Projection saved in combat so that you can get out of sticky situations. It's your number 1 tool for disengaging, and because you don't have a lot of HP, it's a very important tool to have. One of the coolest things about Scarlet Witch is her Reality Erasure ultimate ability that at first glance it might seem totally broken. That's not really the case, but it does have the ability to change the flow of a match if done well. So once triggered, Wanda charges up for a handful of seconds and can fly around. Then she unleashes what's basically an insta-kill attack in a pretty significant radius. So lower skilled players might think this move is OP, but to be honest, the move's damage isn't actually the best part of it. Yes, you can get absolutely mind-blowing team wipes with it, but that's not really going to be the case against higher skilled opposition. So its real power at higher skill levels is that everyone has to run away from it. This enables your team to reposition and get better control of the objective or even recapture it. You can also use this move in dramatic overtime scenarios to turn the tide of the battle, but again, this only applies if you do it correctly. The thing is, you're completely vulnerable when charging the move, and you scream so loudly that I'm pretty sure the next country over can hear you. So for skill teams, when they hear that, they can just look up in the air or look around wherever you are, and it's extremely easy for them to shoot you out of it or cancel it with one of their own abilities. So if you want to use Wanda's ultimate properly and safely, you'll need someone like Magneto to give you his shield, or someone like Mantis to give you, extra health. You'll need somebody to be protecting you, to be buffing you. Otherwise, you'll just enter, the area of combat and anybody can shoot you down in seconds. By the way, the team up with Magneto is extra good because it just gives you more damage by default and it lets him go crazy with his sword. Like I said before, Scarlet Witch is one of those characters that might feel like she's crazy broken at lower skilled levels, but she has plenty of weaknesses herself. We just talked about her ultimate ups and downs, but there's another critical point you need to know about her. When she's in her phased state, when she's using that Mystic Projection stuff, she cannot be healed. How do you heal a ghost? So if you see Wanda running away, just target her for 2 seconds and pop her when she comes back to normal. She'll go down really quickly because she has low HP. And most likely, if a Wanda is getting out of combat, it means she's already been damaged. Another weakness that Wanda has is dealing with shields or extra health. So your sustained damage is amazing, but it's not enough to combat heroes who are constantly getting their health back and that kind of thing, or heroes that are constantly having shields up that you can't penetrate. So when you get targeted by Wanda, a lot of times you can just turn to face her and blast her or force her to back off, because a skilled Wanda player, if they take some damage when they're doing their thing, they're going to back off because they know they need to go get healed. It's really not rocket science or anything, but she doesn't really melt you down in 1 second, so you do have time to react to her attacks. You don't need to fear the Scarlet Witch. You just need a little bit of confidence, and you need a little bit kind of reasonable aim skill. Plus, if you're constantly hitting the Scarlet Witch when she's attacking you and you're constantly pushing her back, that might make the player a little bit more frustrated or a little bit more aggressive, so you might see her end up overcommitting, which just allows you to deal with her easier. And of course, heroes like Hela or Punisher or Hawkeye or so many others can get rid of Scarlet Witch so fast that you won't even know what hit you. Personally, I really love playing as Wanda. It's so satisfying to be able to focus on the strategic aspect of the game and map out different plays on the fly. You feel really cool doing it. And of course, on those lucky occasions when your ultimate does massive damage, wipes out the team, or takes out many opponents, you feel incredible. You feel amazing. You feel on top of the world. You feel like you almost, did a cheat code with what you've done. But she's certainly not unbeatable. And if you're not into a more low execution, high tactics playstyle, she might not be the character for you. After all, the way that you play her in a quick match lobby versus a more serious, more competitive, more highly skilled lobby, it's just not going to be the same. She's a slower and more methodical character than her first impression might give off. Interestingly enough, I've also seen people accuse Scarlet Witch of being one of those brain rot characters, if you will, or, those characters that, oh, they're so good against the pros even though you don't have to do anything with her. But I really don't think that's the case at all. There's a lot of strategic and survival skills that are required to pilot Scarlet Witch, and I think that many people just haven't really gotten past their initial instinct yet of when she starts sustaining damage on you. So when she starts sustaining damage on you, you're probably thinking like, oh, I need to get out of here, or like, oh my god, what do I do? What do I do, right? But really, if you just fire back at her, she's made of glass. She has to run away, or she'll be destroyed. And of course, you can run away from her and fire at her at the same time. But what do you think about Wanda though? Let me know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video or learned something new, please consider liking and subscribing. I'll be doing much more, or many more, Marvel Rivals videos. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.